Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Heat B of the 2006 Fighting Robots UK Heavyweight Championships hosted by Roaming Robots. Last week, Terahertz smashed their way through to the knockout rounds. Tonight, 4 more machines will battle it out to join them. Let's meet the teams. Tonight's seed is seed number 8, Storm 2, the Robot Wars World Champion. They're joined by Leveler 2, an experienced machine, newcomers Toxic and TX108, who once beat Hypno-Disc. First up, it's Storm 2 taking on TX108. Do we have a surprise in store?
Hi, I'm Ed, this is Tim, and this is our robot, Storm 2.
Hi, I'm Craig, this is Chris, this is TX108, probably the oldest robot in existence.
Well, TX108 might be one of the oldest robots in the world, Craig Danby, but they've never competed at the UK Championships before. They did beat Hypno-Disc once upon a time in a Robot Wars exhibition match, but right now against the Robot Wars World Champion Storm 2, they don't appear to be doing very much with that crusher, that Razor-esque crusher, as Storm 2 is bullying them around the arena, that low compact wedge design. Just like 2002 champion Tornado. They got to the finals in 2003, Robot Wars the 7th Wars, Storm 2, and right now they're overturning TX108 and really having their way with them. Now both machines manoeuvring. Storm 2 will look to put them into the pit, but they've gone up the wedge of TX108, who, if they can bring down that crushing beak, it could be night-night for Storm 2, but it doesn't look like they're capable of right now. The wheels are really pushing there on TX108 as they try and push the world champion towards the pit. It's not happening though. Sorry guys, you've not got the push. Maybe it's because this robot is an old, infirm gentleman machine, as Craig Danby has said. Storm 2 just nagging and pursuing like they always do, shoving TX108 into the wall. They can manoeuvre around. TX108 looks like it's really struggling. Very sluggish and on the edge of the pit and into the pit. Storm 2 pick up the win. Well, let's look at the highlights. It was domination, really. Storm 2 into the arena wall with TX108. That's the primary way that Storm 2 causes damage, just pure brute strength. They've got that 4-bar lifter, which they use to good effect. Not going to throw a robot out of the arena with it, but you can certainly get the control and aggression points they need. There was this bit, if TX108 had brought down that crusher, Storm 2 would have been in trouble, but they couldn't. TX108 very sluggish, obviously suffering some kind of issue. We're bossed around here by our 8th seed for this championship, Storm 2. Eventually they were put out of their misery. I think they drove a little bit into the pit themselves, put themselves out of their misery. And in the end, a little flick into the pit.
We forgot to charge the batteries, which may have been a bit of a problem with we're fine driving around, but when it gets on top, we've got no power to push him. If that was the case, I could have just grabbed him and put him in the pit, but, you know, it's probably the oldest robot still fighting on the planet, so give us a break, you know?
Oh, Craig, you big wally, you've got to put charged batteries in the robot. That's why it was so sluggish. Storm 2 picking up the win there. The next fight is Leveler 2 versus Toxic. We didn't have any footage of that. Leveler 2 picked up the win against Toxic. Toxic will now have the chance for some redemption as they take on TX108. But before that battle, let's just meet the Toxic team.
Hiya, I'm Terry, this is Tony. We're here with Toxic Robot. We're at the UK Champs. We just come along for a little bit of fun, see how far we can get, but we normally get thrown out of the arena in about 5 seconds. Cheers.
3, 2, 1,
Well, Terry, unless something goes horribly wrong, you're not going to get thrown out the arena in about 5 seconds in this fight, because TX108 doesn't have a flipper. Toxic, a new machine and not very well driven to start with, at least a new team to the championships. They've got that little flipper on the front. It's sort of like a more back to basics version of Storm 2, really. As these two robots try to come to blows. Wow, Toxic, they're both driving like drunk people currently. How do you commentate on this? Finally, a connection. A little love tap. Can TX108 bring down that beak? No. No, they can't. Both machines struggling to get an advantage over each other here. Neither one lighting up this group so far, but that beak is finally coming down with all the pressure of me. If I tapped on it with my hand. And now they're in. Come on, TX108, come on Craig. Craig Danby, with the oldest robot in the world according to him. And it's moving like a geriatric, let's be real. Toxic trying to get that flipper in underneath, can't do so. There seems to be some smoke coming out of someone. TX108 is getting slower. And the timer's ticking on. Now I think this might be a knockout count for Toxic. I haven't got a clue, to be honest. Well, let's look at the highlights of that fight, if there were any. Toxic almost in the pit. That wasn't particularly great driving. This was good though from TX108 in the grand scheme of the fight. Wasn't the most punishing, dangerous thing we've ever seen, but good control from Craig Danby and his machine. Getting the pinch on, it'll get him control points, if not damage points. Slid in underneath. And again, a pinch. With that bird-like beak. And Toxic, which looks like a bit of a coffin, if they don't mind me saying. I think we're in trouble there. Yes, and they were indeed in a bit of trouble. Toxic knocked out their TX108 with the win. The next fight is Leveler 2 versus Storm 2. Again, no footage of this Leveler 2 fight. Storm 2 picked up the win, putting themselves in a fantastic position to qualify for the next battle. Only Toxic stand in their way, which is next.
2, 1, activate!
Well, Toxic did not have the greatest of matches against TX108, but they're looking a little bit more with it in this fight. They've not won a fight yet in this heat. Can they score an upset against Storm 2 and open the window for Leveler 2 or TX108? It's a bit of a clone fight, this one. It's a bit like, you know, your younger brother almost in Toxic here against Storm 2. It's going to be all about the aggression, all about the pushing power. Storm 2 with that 6-wheel drive. They're underneath with that flicker. Toxic looking to get that flipper in and underneath. It's only 2-wheel drive Toxic, so an inherent disadvantage there. Storm 2 underneath now. Holding Toxic aloft. Can they throw them over? Obviously it won't matter too much. Toxic can move both ways up. But again, scoring points, and points mean prizes, as Toxic is propped against the arena wall. They're trying to self-right using that lifter. They're going to try and knock themselves back on their wheels, but they've been balanced precariously and beautifully by Storm 2. What a bit of control. Fantastic. Well, here's the replay of that fight. Storm 2 in underneath Toxic, maneuvering them around. Toxic looked a lot better in this fight, to be fair. A lot more with it. But they just came up against a machine that is top of its game. Particularly when it's being driven like this, flicking up against the arena wall. Toxic trying to use that flipper, and you know, Toxic would have used that flipper to self-right, but Storm 2 just kept sort of leaning them against the wall into such a way that Toxic expelled the majority of their gas and then just could not move. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. They're moving on to the knockout round. Storm 2 has 3 wins out of 3, so they indeed do move on. We do have the fight between TX108 and Leveler 2. This is purely for pride. Let's meet the Leveler 2 team first before this fight gets underway.
Hi, I'm Dave. This is Tony. This is our robot Leveler 2 here at the UK Champs on Wicksteed Park. Yeah, well, I don't know how we're going to do, but well tried old robot, been in Series 7, survived that, so hopefully survive today.
3, 2, 1, activate!
Well, you have indeed survived today, Leveler 2 team, but you are out of the championships, unfortunately. This fight is only for pride. Both of them have got a fight win each. Another win will put them into second in the group, but you can't overtake Storm 2 now, guys. As Leveler 2 gets in underneath TX108 and throws them over. And TX108 have been having issues with their arm all day. I don't think they can self-right. I think Leveler 2 have picked up a very quick, easy win here. The Series 7 veterans got knocked out by Tornado in their heat. And in this heat, they have picked up 2 wins, which is very, very credible. Well, here's the manoeuvre, and this was the fight basically. In underneath, flip, and TX108. I'm not sure if they can self-right, but they've been having issues with that arm all heat, and just couldn't self-right. So Leveler 2 gets that win and finishes second in the heat. Storm 2, of course, are progressing to the knockout rounds. Thank you so much for watching another heat of the 2006 UK Fighting Robots Heavyweight Championship. I think I've said that right. We'll see you next week for Heat C. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to get all notifications for this channel and all its robot combat goodness. Thank you for watching. Good night.